Hello and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime, the podcast where we discuss cybercrimes and cybersecurity news. This week we'll be talking about an advisory from the FBI for people with Androids to stop texting people with iPhones, and vice versa. So why is this a thing? Is this an issue with iPhone to iPhone or Android to Android communications? What does it mean? Will you lose friends over this? Has the FBI taken a stance in the Android versus Apple debate? Probably not, but I'll explain all of this today. An advanced persistent threat actor group called Salt Typhoon, supposedly linked to the Chinese government, breached telecommunications companies in many countries, including, of course, the United States. Salt Typhoon has been operating since 2020, and is more interested in data theft and data collection than ransomware. The group is also stealthy and employs anti-forensic strategies when targeting victims, leaving no trace that they had even infiltrated and making them very difficult to detect. Last week on Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, White House officials told reporters that Salt Typhoon had indeed breached 8 telecom firms in the United States, though 4 were known about previously. The White House did not specifically say which firms were impacted, but it has been previously confirmed that Salt Typhoon had breached T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, and Lemon Technologies earlier this year. It's likely this compromise has existed for around 2 years. However, the US government claims that they don't believe any classified communications themselves were compromised. CISA cannot for certain say whether Salt Typhoon has been successfully, completely removed from the telecom companies so far. And that is when CISA and the FBI released an advisory. Switch to encrypted means of communication to avoid being spied on by threat actors. Encryption is technology that takes your communications and hides them, using a secret key that turns it into indiscernible ciphertext. So that even if a threat actor can see that you're texting someone, all they will see is that gibberish ciphertext if you're using an encrypted means of communication. So how does Android to iPhone communications play into this? Well, encryption between iPhone to Android and vice versa is not really there. SMS and RCS are 2 protocols used for texting, neither of which are inherently encrypted. RCS is an improvement on the older SMS, which horribly would compress videos, making them super grainy, and RCS has improved on this upon other things. But one thing it did not improve upon was including end-to-end encryption in the protocol itself. It's not encrypted, it's all plain text. People can spy on these communications in theory. This I see as a pretty major red flag, because tools need to be built with security in mind to be secure. It's not just some afterthought you can have and just hope you can fix it later. And sure, you can add encryption and other secure elements later, but that still leaves the initial design, the entire foundation, inherently insecure, but with the digital hard hat slapped on top. Now, to be fair, Apple and most Android manufacturers like Samsung, but really there's hundreds out there, have added encryption to both their SMS and RCS implementations. The only issue is they are not compatible with each other. I can easily send my mother an encrypted text message from my Samsung device to her Samsung device, but if I were to text my sister, who is an iPhone user, it would not be encrypted if I'm just using my native texting app. This is part of the reason secure design is so important. When you try to fix it afterwards, you can run into issues like this that remain unfixed, and a design that at its base still remains unsecure. Currently, there's no timeline to fix the RCS protocol to include end-to-end encryption, though this is eventually planned for the future and may in fact be rushed due to this very incident. And different vendors for Android may also have different timelines for including encryption in their texting implementations as well. So what exactly can you do about this besides buying a new phone? Well, if you're from outside the United States, you probably already have a good answer that you're aware of. WhatsApp. Within the US, native texting apps are popular, but outside of the United States, WhatsApp reigns supreme. This is because compared to texting, especially internationally, WhatsApp is basically free. It's not uncommon for countries outside of the US to charge per SMS message, or just have more expensive data plans, not have unlimited data plans. Some countries in the Balkans will still charge you for roaming data, and if you visited abroad, you probably know that you will get charged extra for international texts and calls. And when you're in Europe, it's pretty easy to go internationally considering how small each individual country is compared to the United States, which is enormous. These extra charges and issues with data don't really exist with WhatsApp. And it's cross-platform. Both Androids and iPhones have it, making it a pretty obvious second choice. They did also get in on the market for an alternative texting app early, which certainly helps. And of course, it includes end-to-end encryption, does not matter which platform you're using. There are other alternatives that also have end-to-end encryption. I've sometimes used WhatsApp, but I've also used Signal, which is a similar end-to-end encrypted texting app. Heck, even Facebook Messenger has end-to-end encryption. So you trying to buy that used coffee maker off the guy a couple towns over via Facebook Marketplace, that communication was nice and safe from foreign threat actors. That being said, it is difficult to break a routine and switch to an app, especially if it's not one you're very used to. And ultimately, that decision is for you to make. How much you care about threat actors reading your texts is up to you. I'm personally not sure I find it to be the biggest deal in the world, as I don't really discuss classified or even business-sensitive information over text, but it is a consideration you may need to make depending on your job, and of course, the extent at which you value your privacy. Thank you to Bleeping Computer, Forbes, Reuters, and the Wall Street Journal for information on this case and FBI and CISA advisories. And of course, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Bite-Sized Cybercrime, and until next time, stay secure.